We are recording now. Recording has just begun, so we are recording. All right. So this is a very long one. It has a lot of sessions and subsections of headings. So let's just skip and start with the introduction. So, like I said, the class is going to be interactive. So let me hear from you. Has anybody found the time to go through this? Has anybody done so? Anybody? Yes, class. Anybody? Yes. Anybody, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead. Yes. So can somebody give us some quick overview of the introduction? Anybody? Nobody has read? Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I went through it and made some notes on my own. So the overview I went through was the goals of HCI. Basic goal is to improve interactions between users and computers. So let me just go through the things I went through, which I jotted down on my own: methodologies and processes for designing interfaces. Then the research, then there's a subheading. I read about the research, part of research, and also the computing perspective of interaction technique. And interaction technique itself, the user view of interaction technique, then computation view of interaction technique, and so other points like that I read. Then paradigms and histories. Paradigms and history. Understanding human-computer interaction history is largely about understanding the series of paradigm shifts. So the whole idea of the approach, the paradigm shift, as time goes on, how they solve problem, it paves the way for new interaction techniques. So the more the paradigm shift, the more they invent new techniques for humans and computers to easily interact based on based on also the new introduction of technologies, certain technologies that they bring into play. We now improve upon what we have been doing before. So that also brings about another paradigm shift. So new technologies also bring new paradigm shifts that wasn't there before.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
So basically, if we go back to the introduction, the introduction basically starts by telling us that the component of human-computer interaction comprises of interaction models. Now, these models are like the cardinals that define how computer interaction should actually be built. What are the things we should look at before we could create a system that is fully human-centric? Now, this goes further to explain that there is a particular component of the computer interaction which is known as economics, and this economics describes the physical characteristics of interaction, the interaction styles that express the nature of user and system dialogue, and finally, the context of social, organizational, and the motivational aspect of interaction. As we go further, I believe you should be able to see and also understand that there are a lot of characteristics that define what an interaction is, and these are not these are very much associated with the context of social as well as organizational as well as motivational aspect of interaction. We sometimes study machines in relation to society. We study machine in relation to behavior. We study machine in relation to uh, organizational structure as well as the motivation behind that particular interest. So in this session, as you can see, um, we will be talking about a lot of these models. Now, moving forward to the first section, also the first interaction, which is the interaction models. Now, let me begin with just a second. All right. So we are going to begin with uh, identification of the interaction model, which comprises of different interaction models, such as what we call the Donald Norman model. Now, this is one of the models we'll be studying again and again in this course. And then we're also going to look at some interaction frameworks which have gained very much attention in the recent discoveries within the field of human-computer interaction. So let's start with the Donald model. Now, when we look at the Donald model, this is actually a model that defines 7 stages that tries to ensure human-computer interaction succeeds. Now, the 7 stages include the following. Number 1, the user establishes the goal, which means whatever it is that we are going to consider during design, we look at the user. Just like as we mentioned earlier, the main goal is user-centric. So when improving the interaction between user and computers, we take into consideration the goals of that particular user. Okay, so number 2 is the user formulates intention. Sometimes we need to understand the intention of the user in terms of how the user behaves or interacts within the system. Now, this formulation of intention also has to do with, for example, assuming the user wants to print, for example, wants to print in a particular environment, or assuming the user wants a system to scroll up or to scroll down. Now, these are all intentions. Now, how does the user formulate his intention towards a system so that when putting a good design, we put that at the back of our minds? Now, the next thing is user specifies actions at interface. Now, if you look at our browsers, now, even if you look at this Adobe Reader I'm using right now, it has a lot of interfaces. Now, on the interface, we have the 3 dots, we have the share button, we have the search button, we have the volume button. Now, below my screen, we have the edit, we have the comment, the highlights. These are considered let me say, action interfaces, because this is where we execute some of these actions that we want to achieve during design. Now, another thing is that user executes action. Now, when executing action, sometimes we look at the fact that user needs a particular tool to be able to execute. Now, assuming you want to scroll up or down, it means you need a mouse, or you need to use the key, the up key button, or the down key button, or the left key button, and so on and so forth. And then we have what we call perceive the state of the system. Now, sometimes a system has a state. Now, every system in the world has probably two states or three states. Now, what are these states? These states are the current what word should I use? When we say state, we are talking about the current situation of the system at a given time. Now, a system could be on, a system could be off, or sometimes a system could be idle. So these are the major three, let me say, three states that a system may experience or a user may experience. That is the when the system is off, or when the system is on, or when the system is idle. Now, another thing is the user interprets the system state. Now, it is the user sometimes that needs to determine what state the system is staying on. And then the user evaluates the system state with respect to goals. Now, some users, even after you have given them all the things they require, they are still not satisfied. So, at this case, the user has to evaluate the system state with respect to his goal. If the goals are met, then the system state is considered acceptable. If it is not, then something has to be done about it. Now, this is the Norman's model, which concentrates on the user's view of interface execution and evaluation loop. Now, what this evaluation loop is trying to indicate is that the relationship between user as well as the system is an endless relationship, because as the user uses the system, sometimes the user complains about certain things and they are fixed. Sometimes as you go on, you keep on changing the requirements and you realize that the system is never finished until when there is no more users to use it. Now, some of you who are old enough to know this, I believe when Facebook was first introduced somewhere in 2007, 2008, I think majority of you were not on Facebook at that time, even if you were born then or if you are smart enough to own a mobile phone. But trust me, if you look at the Facebook of those days compared to the Facebook of today, you will laugh. Like you will laugh. You'll be wondering that what was Mark Zuckerberg thinking when he built that first application. But with the passage of time, with innovation and technology on ground, with a lot of improvements, today Facebook is one of the most important applications in the history of the web system. From the time it was invented till date. So when we say the nomads model concentrates on the user's view, it means that we have to engage in this execution and evaluation loop where we always come up with goals, and then goals are executed, and then they are evaluated, they are executed, they are evaluated again and again and again. So this is basically what the Donald Norman's model is all about. Now, moving forward, um, I've already explained the model. There's also another model we call the Abbott and Bell's model. Now, this model is also another model within the human-computer interaction domain. And the model actually describes users' intention. And now it says the user's intention could be translated into actions at the interface, translated into alteration of states, reflected in the output display system, interpreted by user himself. Now, what this is trying to say, this model is trying to say that whatever action a user wants or whatever action a user does, then the intention can also be translated into action at the interface, which means
Sorry, excuse me, sir.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, sir. Good evening. I'm so sorry. You're a bit too fast for us.
Really?
Yeah, exactly, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh my God. All right. My sincere
Thank you.
apologies.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So we're talking about something called the Abbott and Bell's model. This is also another model. And when I say model, I believe you all know what a model is. A model could be a framework, it could be a guide to something, it could be a structure for something, it could be anything. So when we're talking about this particular model, this model is actually translating user intention. And it states that user intention could be translated into actions at the interface. Now, when we say something can be translated into action, just imagine yourself wanting to use filter for a very long time. For a very long time, people wanted to use filters on cameras. In those days, cameras did not come with filters, but everybody wished they had something that will make them look beautiful and glamorous when they take pictures. Now, that is an intention that a lot of people wish was translated into an action in an interface. So today, we wake up and realize that we can actually have a camera that has a filter. So you see, our intention is now being translated into action on a particular interface. Likewise, we see that it can still also be translated into an alteration of state, meaning that we can have a state or we can have an intention where a user could determine when something to go off and when something to go on. I'll give you an example. Now, in those days, when you are using TikTok, when TikTok first came, when you're using TikTok and then you spend about 2 minutes on TikTok, automatically the screen goes dark. Why does it go dark? Because initially there was no support for state change, for alteration to take place. Now, what is alteration? Alteration means changing from one state to another. So when TikTok came, there was no such alteration. What was in the market was simply a TikTok that displays videos, and then when you cannot use it for 2 minutes, it goes dark in order to save battery. But today, with the intention of the user at the back of the minds of the designers of TikTok, they realize that it is important to give users another experience, which is alteration of state, to change the state of the screen from off to on. As long as you're on that screen, it remains on. If you like, throw your phone on the ground, go and sleep. As long as it is inside TikTok, your screen will never go off. This is an alteration of state. So, the general framework for understanding interactions are that interaction is not restricted to electronic computer system alone, but all major components involved in interaction should be identified. Now, the reason is that everything should be identified because it should give user an unlimited experience that satisfies the user's goals and intentions. Now, moving forward, we are moving into a new topic, which is the economics. Now, economics considers both physical aspect of interaction, both physical aspect of interface and the industrial interfaces. Now, when we say both physical aspect of interfaces and industrial interfaces, it means that we are talking about the front end and the back end of a particular interface. There are side of the interface that we see and interact with. There's also another side of the interface that we do not see. That is your industrial interface. Now, economics, according to experts, is the study of physical characteristics of interaction. It is also known as human factor. Now, when talking about economics, it is good at defining standards, guidelines for constraining the way we design certain aspects of systems. So economics, as you can see in short, it teaches you about the physical characteristics of interaction such that it defines standards as well as guidelines for constraining the way we actually design certain aspects of the system. So it is like the big brother that says, hey, this is how you design a good system that suits human interaction. Now, example of ergonomics includes number one, the arrangement of controls and displays such as the control groups according to functions, frequency, and sequences of use. Now, let me give you example with this practically. If you open a Microsoft Office document, let me see if I can open one on my phone. Let's just open one. So we make a demonstration with this. So let me make example with this, if this is possible. Okay, yeah, it's possible. So now I want you to look at my screen and see something. You see, with economics, we try to understand what exactly should the user want. We also understand, or we also define the guidelines as well as the standard for a particular system design. Now, how do they know that when dealing with paragraphs, they should group these paragraphs together? Now, when I click on paragraph, a set of functions appear. Now, this is because they want the user to find it easy to locate anything related to paragraphs. Now, if you are talking about tools, when I click on tools, it gives me some information that are very useful and they are grouped. Now look at insert. Anything that needs to be inserted is under insert, image, table, blank, comment, text box, portrait, blah, blah, blah. Now, anything that has to do with view, ranging from the night mode, the eye protection, the lock screen, and so on, all of them are considered in one category. Mix is trying to describe is that such arrangement is not a coincidence. This is something that happened because it was designed to happen in that manner. Number two, surrounding environments such as the seating arrangement adaptable to cope with all sizes of users, health issues such as physical positions, environmental conditions, as well as lighting and noise are also taken care of by ergonomics. For example, sometimes when you look at the sitting posture you do when using your computer, it gives you a back pain, which is why according to the ACM, that is the what I can't recall ACM. ACM is an institution actually of computer machine something I forgot. Now this is trying to tell us that according to ACM there is this particular posture everybody should be using when sleeping. Now if you come forward instead of leaning backward, and if your back is not flat, it gives you a back pain. Now somebody will tell you that getting closer to your phone at least 2 inches after your eyes could actually give you an eye problem. Now, according to the new Apple iPhone screen policy, which is also related to this example of the surrounding environment we're talking about, it states that an iPhone should not go closer to the eye. At least it should stretch the length of an arm. It should stretch the length of a hand. So if you activate that functionality on your phone, automatically the moment you take your phone closer to your eyes, it goes off, or it kind of restricts you from using the phone until you maintain that length which has been prescribed according to standard. So this is why this matters very well. Now, number three, the use of color, such as the use of red for warning, green for okay, and awareness of colors, blindness, and so on. These are also part of the things that are being handled by economics. Now, somebody would ask, how do we know that red should represent danger or green should represent go? Take, for instance, on a traffic light, when the traffic hits red, it means you stop. When it hits green, it means you should go. How did we arrive at this conclusion that red should be for danger or should be for stop, and then green for green light, meaning go ahead? This is because there is a convention. A convention could also mean a rule or a policy that governs how such things, how these naming conventions should actually take place. Now, moving forward, let's talk about some common interaction styles. And according to this course, there are two major classes of interaction, and they are considered as follows. Number one, we have what we call the dialogue style of interaction between computer and user. Then we also have the distinct style of interaction. Now, both are expressed in the following common forms of interaction, and we're going to look at those common forms. Number one is the use of command line utility or a command line interface. I believe each and every one of you here should know what a command line interface is. If you don't know, you should go and find out because it is very important. This is where we actually interact with the system using codes. Now, some of you are so lucky that you want to become computer scientists at the time when computer science has already been simplified. If I remember myself in 1998, 99, when I had my first desktop computer, at that time, majority of the interaction was using the command line interface. You had to give the computer an instruction, then the computer will process, then eventually the computer will execute the action. But today we are in the age of graphical user interface where everything is there for you to touch and automatically it just goes on and do the thing. Now take for instance, when you just want to touch your screen, you can just touch the screen and you get something done. In those days when I wanted to format a flash drive, I had to use a command utility because there was no user interface. Everything was done using the command interface. So one of the ways of expressing, one of the ways of communicating with the interface is through the command line interface. Another way is through the use of menu. Now, a menu is anything that carries a group of functions that exist on a particular system. So, for example, this just below my screen, as you can see, there are all sorts of menus. Comment is there. I've just turned on comment. Let me see something else. Three dots are also here. They also mean something. All these are considered menu. Next is natural language. Natural language has everything to do with language translation from digital to analog or from analog to digital. Sometimes during those days, system could only bring out sound, but today we are in the age of technology. I can actually talk to my AI right now, and I can ask my AI to do whatever I want. Now, that is through natural language processing. That is NLP. NLP itself is a branch of knowledge that represents how languages are being conveyed through digital format. Number four, we have question and answer and query dialogue. This is sometimes possible whenever we are given a questionnaire to fill, or sometimes when we want to fill for an email form, you want to sign up for an email, they ask us a question, we give them answer, and then eventually it leads to a query or it leads to a dialogue between you and the system. Number five, we have what we call form fields and spreadsheets. Form fields are usually like questionnaires. When you get a questionnaire that has some questions that you need to fill. That is what we call form fills. Then the spreadsheet, as you know, these are documents that are associated with columns and rows, or perhaps tables in general. Then we have what we call the WIMP. WIMP simply means Windows Interface Management Protocol, is it? I don't recall. So it's something that has to do with, let's look at it. Should be here. Been talking about this from off heart. Let's look at it. Let's so that will be So this WIMP is actually Windows icon, menus, and pointers. Sorry about that. So this is actually something that was introduced by Microsoft. Back in those days, there was no thing as icon, menus, or pointers within the Windows environment. It was later that all these were incorporated, and this was done in order to make control of systems easy, management of systems easy, interaction with the systems even easier. Icons help you to understand what is what and who is who. Menus help you identify functionalities. Pointers help you point at things. And then, of course, we have the icons, the mice or the mouse. We also have the pull down menus and so on and so forth. So this is one thing about the WIMP interface. Now, I think the next interface is the point and click. Now, point and click objects are usually objects associated with pointing as well as clicking. And we all know what example comes to the mind when you think about point and click. One example is the example of a mouse. A mouse has a pointer, and then it allows you, after pointing, to click. Then we have the last one, which is the three-dimensional interface, also known as 3D. This is a dimensional representation of objects which come in three-dimensional spaces. Mostly, when we say something is 3D, it means that it could be seen from the front as well as from the sideways. Just like when you are holding a camera to your face and we're able to see the face facing the screen as well as the sides of the face. That is it. So these are some example of menus. We have the menu, the pull down menu, the drop down menu, the fold down menu. All these menus we are already using them for our day-to-day activities. We also have some sort of menus called the cascading menus, which put ideas in a hierarchical structure or menu structure. We have the keyboard accelerators also, which are active keys that help in facilitating interaction between user and computers, such as the control keys, the alternate keys, the enter keys, and so on. Let's go to the pointers. Now, one thing about pointers is that pointers does not restrict itself to mouse only. Other form of pointers include trackpads, joysticks, trackballs, and cursor keys. Now, these were in use in those days, but today we are actually using only mouse. And then, of course, perhaps with this new development in the drone technology, drones are usually controlled by joysticks these days. So that is what has brought back the need for us to apply or to use joystick for control. If you're watching the news, there was this incident that happened in the US where about 5 rich billionaires took a submarine to go visit the Titanic wreckage at what we call the Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is that deepest part of the ocean, which even the sun itself could not penetrate. When it is afternoon, you cannot tell between day and night because of how dark this place is. Now, these people, they travel to the Mariana Trench, the darkest part of the ocean, to visit the Titanic. But unfortunately for them, they actually, well, not unfortunately, uh, they actually use a joystick to control, what do you call it, the submarine. But eventually the submarine got imploded inside the ocean and all of them were dead and they were all shredded into pieces. God so kind. So these are some of the developments in the area of pointers. Pointers can be used for many things. We also have the scroll bars. These are pointers that have the balls in the centers, which help in scrolling objects or things or moving things uh, using objects. We've spoken about 3D. Let's see what is. We also have the Zoom user interface, which is another technology that allows you to zoom in and out in order to see something more clearly and more visibly. So I think that is the those are the important things that we need to observe in this first introduction. So in the conclusion so far, we discussed the basic components of human-computer interaction aids in giving direction, focus, and human consideration pertaining to interactive design. These are, when we say aids, it means that they help in achieving these given goals. And we also talk about variations of interaction models of the interface established between users and computer systems, where we talk about two particular models. And then we also go on to look at what we call the loop of evaluation and execution, which allows user to test or to evaluate and then execute. It goes on and on and on until user is satisfied. And lastly, we talk about the interaction models known as human economics, as well as interaction styles, and then the social organizational context, and the basic components of human-computer interaction. So basically, these are some of the things we covered today, and I believe when we meet in the next class, we should be able to have a more deeper approach where we'll be looking at more complex models as well as more complex methodologies for human-computer interaction. So at this point, I would like to give you the session for contribution, for questioning, or for even criticisms if you have any. So the floor is open for you. You can go ahead. Thank you very much. Anybody likes to say something, one or two things?
Not exactly, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I did enjoy it, but I just felt like I would have enjoyed it more if I had gone through it very well. And basically, if you had been like a bit slow, because I know you were like kind of really fast and you were rushing, but if you were like a bit slow, then I would have enjoyed it more. But I did enjoy your class though. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I take the correction, and you know, we all have our way of talking, I think. I try, even after you mentioned that I was fast, I was trying very hard to regulate my speed, but yet I will try to improve more next time. And I think one reason that has contributed to this is the fact that probably you haven't gotten the chance to go through the book. Maybe when you do so next class, perhaps this would be reduced or eliminated completely. I hope so. I don't know if you have a copy of the note. Do you have?
Yes, I do the exact one you're using, which is the one on the LMS. I do. It's also on the group, so I have it.
Okay, great. So I hope next week you should be the first to guide us through the book when we're having the next session. Will you?
Sir?
I say I hope next time you would read the book so that you can guide us through.
Sir?
All right.
Sir, I don't understand.
You will understand this next session. So any other question? Any question? Any complaint? Anybody? This is our first contact. So if there's any observation, please say it. I don't mind being corrected or being told that I should improve. Okay. Please feel free to talk.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, madam. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I really enjoyed the class. It was nice. Thank you, sir. It was clear, the explanation, and it's awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your kind words. I hope that next time will be much more interesting.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, sir. Just to ask, like, just to confirm something. So, like, the whole overview of HCI is just that it is human computer interaction, and it's basically human centered in the sense that everything they're doing, they're putting humans into consideration. Am I getting that?
Well, yes, let me give you a little bit of history. What actually happened was that initially, when systems were designed, when systems were developed, uh, it was just a kind of inspiration from the inventors, somebody waking up one day and thinking that, let me just build an app. And probably this app should be able to help solve one particular problem. Now, after designing the app and send it to the market, one problem always emerge, meaning users cannot use the application or users cannot actually interact with the system properly. So what happened? We now say, okay, rather than just building a system from scratch, just from your own invention, how about you first of all give the idea to users? Let users tell you what they want and how they want it because you are designing the system for them, not for yourself. It's not a book where you just read where you just write your perception and people read and they choose whether to accept or not to accept. This is a machine. Now look at the cars we drive today. We drive very elegant as well as expensive cars. Now, some of these cars, they come with all sort of things. Some people prefer cars that have voice detection, cars that have sensors, cars that have a lot of computing facilities inside them. But somebody will tell you, no, I don't like. So sometimes, it is the users that help in the development phase of the system. As the system is being developed, users are also giving their feedbacks so that the system can actually be designed according to the user's want. Just recently, there was this application they call Bamboo. Bamboo is actually an app that helps you in buying or in investing in stock market or in whether in the Nigeria or in the US, for example. Now, we were having some difficulty on this application. Myself, having founded a group of more than 20,000 people on WhatsApp, we decided to write a petition to Bamboo. Now, we wrote the petition that we don't want social feature, and guess what happened? Just within 2 weeks, that feature was removed and a new thing was brought in. So this is what we mean by user-centric when we are trying to explain human-computer interaction. Anything that we need to build, we need to have the human side in our mind so that we design the system with the belief that this is a system that will be used by somebody. Let that person define how they want the system to look like so that we don't end up designing a system that does not cater for the needs of the users. So this is in a nutshell what this course is about. And then of course, towards the end, you realize that we will now be shifting our attention from user focus to other factors such as environment, such as ethnicity, such as religion, such as, disability and so on. Now, if you travel to other part of the world, you realize that everywhere you go, there is an option for the people who are disabled. Now, here in Nigeria, we don't have such facilities. Perhaps we do, but not everywhere. Very less places. But if you travel abroad, you go to toilet in a public place, you see that even the walls are created in such a way that a blind person can actually go to the toilet without being assisted. Now, in their cars, on their remote controls, on their mobile phones, there are always options that support the disabled people. So if we don't have the disabled at our mind, how can we create such things that can help interact with people who are special? So this is in a nutshell what the course is all about. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Esther, let me say something. When I read your description, I was like really, really interested and very happy I'm under you. And I actually
What
look
is my
forward to learning
description?
more from you, honestly.
What is my description? Yes, go ahead. I'm listening. What is my description?
The discussion on the LMS.
Oh, that description. I see. I see.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are
And
learning
even
every
when
day.
you introduced yourself, as well as what you just said now.
Wow, that is great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
So, class, if anybody has anything to say, please come forward. Otherwise, we will end the class at this point. But trust me, subsequent classes will be tougher and we'll spend hours in the class. So prepare, please, in the next class so that we can be able to achieve a lot in one session, okay? Please do that. So I will go now if there is no any question. So we'll be meeting on Thursday, the same time, 7:15 or 7:20, near this time, okay? So thank you all, and I wish you a lovely evening.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you, sir.
I'll post the recording as well as soon as
Thank
I
you, sir.
download it from the server.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Wait, let me take attendance, please. Let me take attendance. Okay.
All right.
There are only 16 people in the class today. Just to let you know, I have 16 people out of almost 106. And anybody who does not have 70% of my attendance, you are in trouble. So I'm just taking a screenshot. I'll be keeping the screenshot and then I'll be comparing every day so that we know who are coming and who are not. And please try to be, if possible, if you can, try to be logging in using your registration number.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, my name is not showing. Instead, it's showing as guest. I just wanted you to know.
That's why I'm asking. Today, I'll pardon you for that. So next time,
All right,
write
sir.
your
Thank you,
names
sir.
properly, or you write your registration number is better. Somebody like Sarah, Walter, guest. Another person is who? Davis. All of you, please write your names in full so that I can be able to relate. Okay?
All right, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.